Oh boy. Oh, I'm getting flashbacks to 10th grade. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the faculty and staff for being so supportive of me here at Heritage. And I also want to thank my parents and my friends for being supportive as well. There's a strong possibility I might cry at the end of this, so. Oh boy. I've been coming to Heritage Christian now for 10 years, and those of you who have been here for a while know me pretty well, and some of you have heard part of my testimony before, because I've shared some of my testimony before, but you don't know the full story. And now that we're all here, I think I should share the full story in order to understand just the journey I've gone through this and how God has brought me through these years. So when I was 7 years old, I came here in 2nd grade. I had problems in my other schools that I went to before Heritage. And at 7, my parents got me checked, and we discovered that I had special needs, in specific autism. And we knew that, or at least my parents at the time knew, that this was going to affect how I would learn, and it would also affect me in other areas of my life. Because having autism means that things are different from me. My brain is wired different than most people, and it makes it harder to learn because it's harder to process information, and on the whole, I just registered stuff differently. But when I was in 7th grade, when I was 7 years old, I did not really think too much about it. I mean, I was in elementary school, and kids don't really think too much about that kind of thing. However, as I grew in elementary, I began to sense that something was different about me. And not just in the sense that we're all unique. I knew that. But I had this innate knowledge that there was something about me that was different from most other people. And as I grew, I desired to know more about what that something was. Well, when I got into middle school, my relationship with God started to really deepen. I had always known about God. I grew up in a Christian home, and my mom and dad instilled the biblical values in me pretty much from when I could first walk. But it wasn't until middle school that I really began to really understand who God was. And as that understanding came, so did my curiosity to know who I was. Call it a budding self-awareness, if you will. What really set me on my journey of self-discovery was when I did a fundraiser for Hillcrest/Heritage. I was selling, I believe it was chocolates, outside of Albertsons, and I met a gentleman who came up and asked me about my school and was also able to detect some of my symptoms, because as it turned out, he too had autism. The man encouraged me never to doubt myself and always strive to do my best no matter what I dealt with. And looking back, I truly believe that this was a divine appointment from God, because God used it to help me in the journey that I had begun. God also began to give me a great appreciation and love for Him and His Word. My spiritual growth started to really speed up, and that has continued up until this day. And I also began to become increasingly self-aware of myself. So after my encounter with the aforementioned gentleman, I once again began to wonder what it was about me that was different. I asked my discovery therapist, Mrs. Long, and my parents about what exactly were my special needs and why was I the way I was. I found out that I had autism, and I learned a little bit about it. And I sort of began to grasp the full implications of what it would mean for me in the rest of my life going forward. And my life, I knew, would always be somewhat different from other people's because of this thing that I had and I didn't fully understand. I knew that it is a part of me, but I also knew there was nothing I could do to change it. Although I took some time to process this at first, I eventually accepted it because rather than worry about it, I decided I would do the best to live with it as much as I could. There's no use crying over something that you have that you can't change. There are some times when challenges that we have are used by God. And I was told by people that this could happen to me. So, as I entered high school with this knowledge, God also began to work on another area of my life that needed some serious healing. When I was younger, I had a very traumatic experience with a principal from one of my older schools. I had acted up in class and it led to something that scarred me emotionally. And as I got older, I realized that part of what had happened was because of behavioral issues linked to my autism, and that I had been scarred because of someone's refusal to understand me. Oh, sorry. So, God still worked on this area of my life, and although it took some years, I am happy to say that I have largely recovered from what happened, although I still do have some of the scars from it. But God used that to teach me the value of forgiveness and how it can bring healing. Now, the memory of that experience and its connection back to my autism created a certain anxiety in me. I began to wonder if something like this could happen again. I mean, after all, we all know that the outside world can be very judgmental, and I knew that something like having autism or special needs can cause people to label you. Yet, as I continued to lean on God and I continued to pray regarding this issue, I began to realize how great my friends and family and teachers who stood by me all this time were. And I began to gain such a great appreciation for them. These last couple of years have been one of self-discovery and realizing the depth of who I am in God. God has brought me through this whole journey, and through it, I have gained a greater appreciation, not only for myself, but for all those around me. And as I continue to learn more about myself, I continue to realize the full depth of people's love for me, and my appreciation for those people grows. And I know I know what it is like to both have people give everything for you, to love and accept you for who you are, and to be judged because of who you are. And yet, I have gained so much through this journey. Perhaps the greatest thing that I have gained is perspective. I understand and I sympathize with people who have a hard time and struggle, and I'm able to come alongside and comfort those who go through this, because I know what it's like to struggle on a daily basis. I've spent the last decade struggling with and learning about who I am. It's not always been easy, especially since my family and I took the hard road with learning to overcome my disabilities. And believe me, there were times when it was frustrating and disheartening, but it's been well worth it. Another thing I've gained over the years is humility and confidence in who I am. I have no reason to be arrogant or prideful or judgmental of others, because I have something that God has used me to humble me on a daily basis. And it's something that causes me to lean on Him sometimes just to get through the day. And my confidence has also grown, though it wasn't always so secure. There have been times when I struggled through this journey. There have been times when I wondered what it would be like to be a regular student without special needs. And in fact, for a brief time, I wanted to, just for one day, live my life without my autism and see what other kids go through and what they experience, to be able to learn easier, to be able to socialize easier, and to not have to make such an effort to do what some things that come so naturally to others, to have a mental clarity that I knew I did not have. But as I've walked through this journey, I realize that my autism is a part of who I am. And I wouldn't be the person I am today without it. And I think I finally fully realize what it is now that I have walked through this school journey. My autism has been a tool that God has used to shape me, a constant reminder of my need for Him, and a unique scope to view the world through, with perhaps a more humble perspective than some. And despite my longings for the things that I listed above, I have gained so much through having it. God has used it to install such a great amount of maturity in me and a peace in my soul, and a sort of mental clarity that, while not the kind that I necessarily expected, is still a kind that has given me a peace about who I am. My autism has fueled my spiritual growth, and has made me want to learn more about God and learn how to further His kingdom. And so I've come to realize that while it's not easy to live with, my autism has helped me in so many ways. It doesn't define me, but it has helped shape the things that have defined me. I would not be the person I am today if I did not have autism, and I would not appreciate it as much as I do if I did not have it. So I guess in that way, my autism really is a gift. And I have gained so much through something that is hard to walk through. But I have also gained such an appreciation for people. My message and my hope for all of you is that no matter what you go through in life, no matter what you struggle with, never give up who you are in the Lord. Always thank God for what you have and lean on Him to help you get through the hard times that you struggle with. And never take anything that you have for granted. As I've learned about myself, God's strength and peace are what I've relied on to get through the day. And I hope that no matter where you go, you will always lean on Him and thank Him for what you have and who you are, no matter what you struggle with or go through. My scripture, which has helped me through this journey that I want to share with all of you, is Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, and plans to give you a hope and a future. In closing, I would once again like to thank everyone at the school for everything they have done for me. I'd like to thank Mr. Kendrick, Mrs. McLean, Mrs. Halliday, and Mrs. Long, and my teachers for giving me a chance. All of my friends for accepting me and loving me for who I am. And most of all, I'd like to thank my family for believing in me from the start. I have been blessed with so many wonderful people, and I thank God every day for bringing them into it, and I love them so very dearly. And if in some small way, my story can encourage you, all of you, in what you go through and show you what God can do, then all of my struggles have been worth it. Thank you so much for having me up here, and God bless.